Welcome to this episode of Locked In. In this episode, I'm doing my full review of the Ritchey VentureMax handlebars. So if you've been interested in checking out a very different and unique gravel bar, this video is for you, so please stay tuned and subscribe and like this video if you haven't already. So in this video, I'm going to be going over the specs, my installation tips, price, and my final thoughts. So let's get into the specs of this handlebar. Now, there are 4 different versions of the VentureMax bar. You have the Comp, the WCS, the XL, and the Carbon. And there are a multitude of widths available in each individual size. The Comp and Carbon are going to be available in the 40, 42, 44, and 46 millimeter widths. The WCS version, which is what I tested, is going to be available in 38 to 46, and I did test the 46 centimeter width. And the XL VentureMax bar is coming in at 52 centimeters, being the widest version of this bar you can get. Now, I did test the WCS version, which is made out of a triple-butted aluminum, and it is going to feature the BioBend, which I'd have to say is the most visually unique aspect to this bar. The top section is what they call the Ergo Aero bar, so it is slightly flattened for a more comfortable hand position when riding on the tops. It has a 102 millimeter drop and a 76 millimeter reach. The drop bar flare angle is 24 degrees, and it has a 4-degree back sweep to the top of the bar. The weight for this bar is really going to vary depending on the width and the model that you do pick up, but for the WCS version, which is basically the mid-level as far as between the Comp and the Carbon, you're looking about 270 degrees for a stated weight for a 42 centimeter bar. So now into installation. If you watch any of my handlebar reviews, I typically recommend kind of doing the same thing, but with this bar having its BioBend, which is again the little hump that you're going to see in the drop bar position, it does take a little bit more finessing, and I'd say a little bit more time to be taken than a standard traditional drop, because you really need to define that BioBend. So basically that BioBend is designed to sit right in your palm to kind of fill in the area to give you more control when in the drops. And it is surprisingly comfortable when you nail that position just right. So I would highly, highly recommend to really take your time with this. When installing this bar for the first time, reuse your old bar tape so you don't have to commit to new bar tape if you are going to be potentially shifting around and moving your hood position. So what I definitely recommend to do is get that drop bar position dialed in either with a friend or you leaning against a wall, having your handlebar somewhat loose so you can really get that drop bar angle comfortable so that your wrists are nice and straight when grabbing onto the BioBend. After that, then focus on the hoods and the hood position, which I felt were pretty easy to dial in. And make sure to keep in mind, you want to also make sure to look at the top section of the bars, making sure that ergo flat section is comfortable. Now I liked mine where I set it here and you can see in the footage, and that's because I liked a little bit of the tilt back, because when I'm typically sitting on the drops, I'm going to be sitting more upright, and I like that position to kind of just rest my hands against it, and something to almost push or rest against for the top Ergo Aero sections. Besides that, with the 24-degree flare, it isn't the most flare I've ever ridden, and it's not the least amount. So it's kind of that middle position. So 24 degrees is typically going to be kind of in the middle of most of the gravel bars available. And keep that in mind when you're also sizing the bar. If you are going wider in the sides, you may need to shorten your stem, or if you're going more narrow, obviously you might need to lengthen it based on the reach and drop of your current handlebar. So that's going to lead me into price. Price of this bar is going to range. So for the Comp model, you're going to start at $45.95. For the WCS and the XL version, you're going to be at $109.95. And for the Carbon model, you're going to be at $299.95. So let's get into my final thoughts. As far as picking this bar for you, I really would go with the WCS version. It's kind of that Goldilocks sweet spot weight-wise, as well as it does have the Ergo Aero tops, which I really like, and a lot of people do once they try them out. Because the Comp model is a full round top, so you are going to lose that feature when speccing the Comp model. So keep that in mind if you're looking at it. As far as the drop bar itself and the flare, it is kind of, again, in the middle of the road as far as flare angle. I have reviewed their beacon bars, which I'll have linked in the description below, which have a more aggressive flare, but also have a shorter reach and shorter drop. So if you want something a little bit more traditional, if you're coming from road, as far as reach and drop numbers go, this is still going to be shallower than most road drops, but the reach is going to be similar to what you're usually going to use for a road drop. But again, adding that flare at 24 degrees and that BioBend. Now the BioBend is what I'm going to lead into next. I really did like it when grabbing in the drops. It really gave you great leverage and a lot more comfort than you'd expect, especially if you're not wearing gloves. I don't like wearing gloves that often. I do when I ride some really tight single track or trails where there's a lot of shrubbery to basically keep my hands protected. But besides that, I don't really like riding in them that often. So this really gave added comfort to me, and I really did like the added stability it gave. But because of that position for the bio bend, when you go reach up for the brakes, and I do have smaller hands, it is something that you need to be aware of, because that bump, if you're not wearing gloves that have side protection like a lot of mountain gloves do, you are going to potentially feel that on a longer, more chattery descent. So keep that in mind. But whenever I did wear a mountain glove which had more side palm protection, that kind of basically just cushioned that part, and I really just didn't think about it or notice it. But when I rode without gloves, that's the only time on longer stints in that tucked position that I did notice the bio bend kind of impeding my hand. So you really want to make that compromise. I almost wish that the bump was a little bit farther up, but again, you can't make everybody happy. It's either going to work in the farther back drop position or farther forward for your brakes, but obviously that compatibility, depending on brands and shifter design, would be probably a nightmare to get it right for every single brand and manufacturer, so I totally get that. But again, that's why I really heeded the importance of setting in that drop bar and using an older set of bar tape to really dial it in for the first few rides before committing to a brand new set of bar tape to wrap these with. Besides that, I really did like this bar shape overall, and I really did like the ergo top. And that's something that I wish the beacon bars had. To be honest, I really did like those bars as well. So it just depends on where you're looking for your gravel bike. If you want something with the reach of a traditional road drop, if that's what you like and you like a little bit more reach and bar there, and you really want that ergo top, this is a bar that's not going to be as extreme as, again, their beacon bars, but is going to be more gravel friendly than their Butanos or some of the other models, because it does have more flair than those do. So again, you really want to look at their catalog. I'll have a link for Ritchey Logic's website in the description below, so you can check out these bars and all the others, as well as my other reviews that I've done for other bars that they currently have. So I really would recommend these for someone who's looking for something that's not super flared out and is interested in having the bio bend because of potentially hand numbness or issues when in the drops to sustain that drop bar position for a long time, and is looking for an aero flat top section for their handlebar. And I am really impressed with the weight of these aluminum bars. They're almost as light as the carbon ones, and obviously the carbon's going to dampen the harshness of your ride, but the stability of aluminum and the not huge weight penalty for these WCS versions, I think, are kind of a slam dunk. I'd love to test out the carbon bars to really compare these two back to back and see if I can really feel the difference, but hopefully that can happen later down the line. So I hope you like this video. If you ride in these bars or want me to check out any others from Ritchey, please put them in the comments below. I check them every single day, and I really would appreciate it. And make sure to give this video a like. It really does help out the channel, since this is my full-time job. If you want to follow me on Facebook and Instagram, or help support the channel via my Spreadshirt or Pateron, which are in the links below, where I sell my Slow But Look Pro merch and other items, I really would appreciate it. And lastly, thanks for watching this episode of Locked In.
Let's get locked in today.